What's up, YouTube? Today I want to talk about celebrity scents. And there's a lot of these on the market, but overall, you got to look at each one individually, and the story of each cologne is important. Like, Unforgivable was a copy of a Creed, but it doesn't have that much lasting power. But it does have a nice smell to it, but it has a really nice opening. And that's one thing that a lot of celebrity scents tend to do is they open up really nice. They have a very fresh kind of smell that makes you want to buy it. But then when you actually spray it on, the dry down isn't nearly as interesting. The way they make it smell in the magazine is usually not the same as it does on a lot of people. And so that's an obvious money grab. They're trying to market this stuff any way they can. And sometimes, these scents are expensive not because of the quality. You're paying for them to advertise a product. And they're trying to push a product at you and telling you that this is the best cologne in the world and you have to have it. And a lot of times it ends up smelling like something you already have. And overall, like, you got to look at each one individually. Like, Usher actually has a lot of fragrances that are kind of too sweet. They are really pungent, and a lot of people don't like his fragrances. I mean, like it, and the people at the scent counter never recommended that. They're usually pretty supportive of stuff, and they said, I don't like Usher. I don't, and a lot of people find it too sweet. And David Beckham kind of has very youthful scents, and they're kind of basic and very simple. And these say in like every one of his fragrances, it's like the same background for every one of those scents. So it's like an obvious money grab. And a lot of these celebrities will take a cologne that's pretty famous, and they'll make a new version and call it their own. And they usually put fruity notes in it, but they also add spices, and they tend to warm it up. They make a fresh cologne that's kind of sweet, and so people will think it's sexy, and then buy it, and it just doesn't quite cut it. When you actually put it on and give it time, it usually dissipates very fast, and it doesn't have much in the dry down. But, there's a few exceptions to that. Like, Jay-Z has actually done quite well in his fragrance. And, when he made that Rocawear cologne, he wanted a new product. He didn't want to copy anything. He had pretty simple dry down. You have musk, timberwood, and amber. And it worked perfectly. And when you let it just dry down after a couple hours of putting it on, it really settles down into a nice heavenly brew. And Carlos Santana has also done a really good job. He's made kind of a powdery, fresh, kind of sweet, woodsy smell. It has some cinnamon, vanilla, and lavender, and tonka bean, and amber, and some musk, but mostly it's very balanced out with a lot of other stuff. And his cologne really has a great dry down, and it actually smells good from the top too. And it really is a sleeper. Like, it is definitely something you want to look into. And it might actually be discontinued because people aren't buying it. And Michael Jordan Legend really is a great kind of cologne. It's kind of under the radar, and a lot of people haven't smelled it. But this is a oriental kind of gourmand, fresh, woodsy scent. It's really like a combination of a lot of things because it's a very aromatic, spicy cologne. It has lots of aromatic spices and coffee in it, and then it has some vanilla and to kind of richen it up, and it has some sweetness, but it gets sweet from a lot of different notes in it. And people call it Roach's Man on steroids in these forums and places, and I'm definitely glad I bought that. And, Michael Jordan has actually done a good job with his fresh colognes. Like, he's done a good job at making sporty colognes, and it's pretty reasonably priced, and has reasonable quality, and it's not a unisex kind of fragrance. It has very aromatic spices and some ocean breezes and leather in it, and so he's done quite well with those fragrances. And Derek Jeter has also done really well. With his Driven, actually has a nice fresh kind of citrusy smell. If that's what you like, you will definitely like Jeter's Driven, because it definitely has a good quality to it. But it depends on the person making the scent, and it depends on who they get to make it. Because Derek Jeter got Avon, which is a pretty solid scent house, and so they decided to endorse it, and they did quite well at it. Whereas some of these people get cheaper quality colognes that are really more of the power of a body spray. They're really aftershaves. They're not cologne at all. They have very low lasting power. They have very little oil. They have a lot of synthetic ingredients, and they just don't last whatsoever. And like I tried Passion by Elizabeth Taylor the other day. You know, I sprayed my wrist before I even got out of the store. But like within 10-20 minutes, I couldn't even smell anything, literally, because it just had no lasting power. It didn't even last on the paper strip. I mean, you couldn't even smell anything from the top of the bottle. It's just weak. And a lot of those colognes could have a lot more oils in them that could make them better. So overall, you know, it's very mixed. Like with some celebrities, you have really good noses and really good eyes for fashion, and those people tend to end up making better products. And if you have somebody that's out there to make a lot of money off of a product and they're heavily advertising it and they're scouring the internet and scouring every magazine trying to get it in everywhere they can, then, you know, it's just a money grab. And especially if it doesn't smell any different from other stuff and they're making it out to be so big, like this is such a big deal, and then it smells like a kind of a generic version of an already available cologne, then it's just a junk. And in the long run, even if those scents are cheaper, they're still more expensive because you're not going to be using it. If you find that you bought a cologne by some no-name celebrity, I don't know who we're going to say for this, but they end up copying Burberry Brit, but their cologne ends up smelling like a generic version of Burberry Brit that you got at Family Dollar. And it ends up not working with a lot of people's skin and it disappears fast. Then you're never going to use it. So it's always good to really look into these celebrity scents. That's basically what I want to say. You know, you want to do a lot of research on it.